Hey everyone. Since Ballerina is out now, I figured it's a good time to update my John Wick ranking, which means all 5 movies. I don't know how in-depth I'm going to get, so I'll just put out a general spoiler alert. You have been warned. Starting off, number 5 is John Wick Chapter 2. The two main ways I'm looking at these is character development and the action. Other things are important too, but those are the main points of comparison. I think this movie has the least character development for John, so that loses it some points. And the action is not as good. Okay, I should clarify. The action is great, but it's not great enough to make up for the lack of character development. So, because of that, it ends up in last. But it's still a great movie. We get what feels like a natural progression of this story in the first one, and actions have consequences, justified or not. Keanu is great, as usual, with these. Common gives a surprisingly good performance, considering I'm pretty sure he's a rapper, primarily, but it turns out he's also an actor. Well done. And Ruby Rose has never been a great actor, but she's really good in this. Especially considering her character is mute, and so she has to convey her entire performance physically. Ian McShane, Lawrence Fishburne, they're both awesome. Ricardo Scamarcio, I hope I said that right, is perfectly, delightfully unlikable as this movie's main villain. We get Lance Reddick is awesome as usual. We have bit parts from Peter Stormare and Franco Nero, aka the original Django, and they both do, pretty much everyone in this movie is giving it their all. Even the bit parts is, I guess, my point. And the action is great. It is definitely a step up from the first movie. Especially seeing these other actors put in similar commitment to Keanu and doing as much of it themselves as possible. And I love the whole bit with just John getting ready, and we see 3 separate things. Him going to 3 separate people for help. Guns, a suit, and just information to get in. And one detail I noticed is that, so this is confirmed in part 3, but the coins, they're not currency. They represent a favor, which is why a hotel room costs 1, and your drink at the bar also costs 1. Because it's not money. It's a favor. And so a little detail I like is that the third guy he goes to, who gets him the map and shit, he gives him 4 coins because technically the guy did him 4 favors. And also, fun fact, the Italian tailor, the guy who helps him with his suit, was actually this movie's costume guy. Because we don't need an Italian guy who can just lovingly describe the suit that John is getting. Because we already have him.
And what style?
Italian.
How many buttons?
2.
Trousers?
Tapered.
How about the lining?
Tactical.
Cast the expert, as it were. It is a bit part, but Peter Serafinowicz, I really hope I said that right, as the sommelier is just... You could just see the delight in his face when John plays along with his whole wine tasting motif.
Could you recommend anything for the end of the night? Something big, bold.
May I suggest the Benelli M4? Custom bolt carrier release and charging handle. Textured grips, should your hands get wet. An Italian classic.
Dessert.
Dessert. The finest cutlery, all freshly stoned.
My score is 4 out of 5. Number 4 is John Wick Chapter 4. This one has more character development than 2, and the action is better than it was in 2. My problem with it is that it's 170 minutes long. And don't get me wrong, it's never boring. So that's not a problem. The problem is just that there is a bit of padding. Okay, I guess the padding aspect of it is debatable, but there are a couple of action scenes that just feel like they go on a little too long. It feels like they gotta trim the fat a little, and I get it. This movie is about excess. That is the theme of this movie, kind of. So in that case, it works, but like, okay, we get it. You can still trim it down a little bit. And the runtime stands out because it's the only John Wick movie that's anywhere near this long. The rest are all around 2 hours, give or take 15 minutes. I think. Let me double check that. Yeah, the second longest is Chapter 3 at 131 minutes. So that is a considerable difference. But with that being said, this is still a great movie. This is a great finale to this particular story. And obviously the universe is continuing on with the Continental Show and with Ballerina and with whatever else they have planned. In the same vein as, I guess, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, where it's not the end of the franchise per se, but it's the end of this character's story. I would say this movie has the best single action scene in the franchise, which is the top-down shootout with the Dragon's Breath shotguns. And obviously, the Dragon's Breath ammo is beefed up compared to how it actually is in real life. It's not enough to break immersion, so it works. I won't spoil it, just in case you haven't seen it yet. The build-up to the climax and the ending is just superb. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 3 is Ballerina. Hey, it turns out Len Wiseman can make good movies. Who would have thought? Okay, I kid, because Live Free or Die Hard is actually pretty good, but to me, he will always be the director of Underworld, and let's be honest, those movies aren't great. Although, to be fair, he only did the first two. Really, my only problem with this movie is that it kind of creates a bit of a continuity question mark into, okay, how does this actually fit in? Because the director does not have her stigmata wounds, which she maybe should, considering the timeline. It's also like in the progression of John Wick's story, since he does appear in a couple scenes. When did he have time to take time out of his busy schedule for this? But otherwise, this is great. It goes to show how much these movies have raised the bar when it comes to action. That this is great by action standards, but by the franchise standards, it's middling. It is wonderful to see Angelica Houston back as the director after she was absent in Part 4. Really hope her character's still alive, because assuming they actually continue the timeline with a new story, I really hope that they bring her back, because she was a nice addition to Part 3. She really, in the words of Sean from Cinematic Excrement, she really helped class up the joint. Ana de Armas, I've been waiting for something like this ever since those 10 minutes or so of No Time to Die, where she was the highlight of that movie. And so it's wonderful to see her in a similar role here, and yet still feeling right at home in the franchise. And also her in that fur coat. And I say this with full respect. She is fantastic. She kicks all of the ass. We get Norman Reedus for a couple scenes. He is solid. I kind of feel like he could have had a bigger role, but for the screen time he gets, he does a really good job. The late Lance Reddick, rest in peace, is great. Ian McShane is great for their limited screen time. Gabriel Byrne, kind of like Santino in Part 2, it makes for a delightfully unlikable villain. It takes you maybe less than 5 minutes to be like, okay, no, I hate this guy. And the music is as great as usual. The action is up to standards. As a whole, it's not the best, but it is consistently solid throughout. And this movie continues in the franchise's tradition of coming up with new and creative action scenes. There is a fight scene in an armory, essentially, where the person who owns the place follows by common sense and also the one thing that Battlefield Earth got right.
If any of you rat brains knew anything about firearms, you would know that you never store loaded weapons.
You never store loaded weapons. And that works against them because all the ammo is locked in another room. So the only usable weapons she has access to are grenades. And, whoo boy, she makes very good use of them. And then later we get a fucking flamethrower duel. And I mean, this is the kind of shit we go to see the movies for. We go to see shit we've never seen before. And I don't think there's ever been a movie where two people were fighting each other with flamethrowers before this one. I could be wrong, but I'm like 90% sure. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 2 is John Wick, the original. The reason this one's so high is because this is where John gets the most character development. Kind of hilariously, the action is rather tame by comparison to what would come later. But that does absolutely nothing to subtract from just how great the action is.
Dude, he's here! He's fucking here! He's there! He's coming!
You have John in his car pushing another car over, what is it, like a dry dock or whatever, over like a man-made cliff of some kind, and they did it practically. And I'm pretty sure they only had one take, because this movie had a fairly low budget. And one thing I love about this movie is that, because of the low budget, they had to reuse their stuntmen in different action scenes. Like, so they would have a stuntman appear in a fight scene with like a full beard. And then after they finished that fight scene, the stuntman would go and shave so that he could then appear in a different fight scene and not look the same. Needless to say, they knew how to ball on a budget. The others would all build and expand, but this one is such a wonderful and self-contained story. It's the only one that really works as a standalone thing, because they didn't know if they were going to get a sequel or not, so they just figured, let's just wrap it all up. And they did a great job. This is the movie that reminded audiences, yes, Keanu Reeves can, in fact, act. He hasn't always been consistent, but in this, he's just so damn good. And also in the sequels. He just... You can tell he loves this character. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Finally, number 1 is John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. This is what I was talking about with part 2, where I'm judging it on character development and action. Because this one, less character development than in part 1, but I would say out of the sequels, he gets more development here than he does in 2 or 4. The Dragon's Breath shotgun top-down shootout in part 4 is the best action scene in the franchise, but I would say part 3 has the best action overall. Like, the average quality of the action is the best here. It is the most consistent. We get Halle Berry popping in for about 20 minutes, but in that time, we get such a good look into her character and who this person is, that she just feels like a person and also fits right in here. We get Mark Dacascos, I don't know if I'm saying that right, as Zero, who is one of the best villains in this franchise. Because, I mean, he just pulled from his real life shit, because Mark is a real life fan of Keanu Reeves, so he just channeled that into Zero being a big fan of John Wick, and it is so goddamn funny. And also the fact that his two main henchmen are the villains from the Raid movies. The Shinobi, Chechep, I really hope I'm saying this right. Chechep Arif Rahman and Yayan Ruhian? Those two. The villains from the Raid movies. And even they get personality, because, like, they are also fans of John Wick, to the point that they're not even trying to kill him. They're just having a blast fighting him. Jason Mantzoukas, thank you, Taskmaster, for teaching me how to pronounce his name, has a small part in this as one of the Bowery King's cronies, and he is delightful. I would say my favorite new addition in this movie is Asia Kate Dillon as the Adjudicator. The androgyny of this character actually really works. Apparently, Keanu and the directors and writers originally had envisioned this character as being like this rather muscular man, and then they rewrote it once Asia signed on. It's like, oh, this could actually work. And they are just so good. Like, they spend most of the movie being confident in their control of the situation because they know that most people will not dare to fuck with them. And then when they call Winston and he just hangs up on them, and because of everything else that's going on, they finally just look surprised and kind of unnerved, like, oh, this might not be going my way. The professionalism starts to crack in that moment that previously hadn't shown no cracks. This movie has one of my favorite little bits of realism in any action movie, which is finally a movie that understands that bullets don't keep going underwater. They lose velocity real quick. My score is 5 out of 5. Hey everyone, what's your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. If you don't like the video, tell me why. Try to be constructive about it. And then subscribe anyway. You'll be notified when I upload a new video. Watch that and tell me what you like and don't like about that one. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.